Gather round, hunters, and welcome back to another episode of Starfleet Command. Orion Pirates +1. I'm Lieutenant Commander Tyrek of the frigate Warclaws. We continue our campaign against the Romulan Star Empire. And last time, we managed to get enough cash in order to buy pretty much any cruiser that we wanted. Unfortunately, the ship list has not been providing the ship that we want. Mainly, we probably want some form of a drone cruiser. After all, the Marak love to toss missiles at people, and I think I just found it. CD plus M. Oh, yep. That's the one we want. Oh, yeah. So we're going to buy it right to start the beginning of the episode. This is an excellent place to begin with a brand new drone cruiser, the heavy cruiser Slaughterer. It's a very aggressive and bold name. We will, of course, trade in the Warclaw. After all, we want to keep our fleet down to something manageable for now. And we're going to upgrade to Type 4 missiles, so it does maximum damage. Type 1 deal 12 damage. Type 4 does 24 damage, which is wonderful. We'll also increase the number of reloads to the maximum, and we're going to spend 132 prestige to bring medium missiles, since we're now in the mid-era, and we're taking a ship that's going to have to rely more on that kind of range operation. We'll also pick up some spare parts. In fact, we may as well kit the whole ship if we can afford it, although we have quite a few Marines. Wow! I'm fascinated to figure out if we have the transporters to make that work. I'm going to actually cut down the number of spare parts. Bring it down to 20. We'll go 2820. I'm happy with that. And I'm going to quickly check in here in the shipyard just to double check that I am not dreaming. Is that indeed... How many of the transporters do we have? We've got 3. Okay, so we're reasonably aggressive with that. We can do some interesting things with that. So... let's set out into space and try and start out using our brand new drone cruiser. Oh, I'm looking forward to this one. We'll take up an MET-10 patrol. We might have been able to take on a convoy raid with the Slaughterer, but it has a weapon system which I absolutely adore. So we'll ready all stations and kick on the speed. How much speed are we going to be able to get out of this ship while charging all heavy weapon systems? And the shields are up, and that'll allow us to go all the way up to 35.5. We can't go up half. For some reason, we can't control it, but if we're buffering up against the maximum of what's possible, it does let us go small sub-levels. So we are blisteringly fast, actually. Yeah, let's quickly set up our hard points. And as you can see, we have 1 missile rack A, 1 missile rack V, 4 missile rack Bs, 2 phaser 1s, and 8 phaser 3s. So, of course, all the phasers are going to be at hardpoint 1, and then on hardpoint 2, I'm going to put the MIRV. That's the missile rack V, and on hardpoint 3, I'll put the rest of the missiles. And on 4, I'll put absolutely every single missile that we've got, just in case I need to panic alpha strike something. There is, of course, an enemy heavy cruiser off there in the distance, but we have time, even though we're cruising at over 20. We may be up to 25 on this one. I'm going to take a quick opportunity. We're going to throw up a maximum electronic countermeasures, make it more difficult for them to hit us, since we don't need to bother taking good aim at them, since missiles guide automatically. So the MIRV missile is one of my favorite weapon systems in this game. It fires a single missile, which then becomes 6 missiles. So in actuality, we do not have 4, 5, 6 missiles. We have 9. Or 6? 5 plus 11. We have 11 missiles. A little bit more than that. And this is what we will do from now on. We're actually able to maintain the perfect speed. The missiles that we have now travel at a speed of 24, so we'll do some of that. And then we'll slow down a bit, let them pass ahead of us. And the main reason for this is I want the MIRVs to engage first. MIRVs... oh, it's a Mauler. Interesting. So we're just going to knock him right down. And I did have some shield reinforcement. But he's going to be able to shoot down a decent number of them. But as you can see, the MIRVs are up front, so his automated defenses will engage them first. And they deal 1/6 normal damage. He did, of course, deploy a Wild Weasel. We're going to have a mine right in front of him, so he can have fun with that one. We'll pass on through. The MIRV is just about ready to fire once again, which will be able to overload his defenses. However, we want to get a little bit distance away from it, because if he shoots down the MIRV in flight, well then, we lose all 6 missiles. So we will launch from about now, and follow up immediately as soon as we can. And there goes the MIRV. And the MIRV is just designed to eat up incoming point defense systems like that. He's shooting them down, but each one of those missiles is only worth 1/6 the normal power. Each one of those tractor beams is still the full point of power, but it's only taking on a little bit of damage. Or it's only taking away a little bit of damage. I absolutely adore MIRVs. By the way, we're being escorted today by the Light Dreadnought, the Vengeance, as well as, I believe, the frigate? Yeah, the frigate, the Bloodern, while we take on a D6 MB. Maulers are wonderful ships. We like to use them, especially during our Lyran campaign, since we're frankly not a huge fan of the normal Lyran vessels. And at this range, it might not be worth dumping the MIRV just yet. So So I'm going to do that, and then that. So a little bit of a reverse on how we normally do it, but he's already still holding on to the MIRV missile, so he's not getting any additional tractor beams out of it. And there we go. We've taken quite a bit of damage off on him. He's lost a lot of power. Still holding on to a few missiles, which is not tremendous, but he probably doesn't have a whole lot left. In fact, I can probably just continue this engagement with normal missiles only. He's down to what appears to be maybe 4 phaser ones, but he's down to a speed of 3, which really kind of tells you he's not feeling very healthy at the moment. We're going to start to pull away just to get a little bit of distance so the MIRV can actually activate, because we're going to continue the bombardment. We may as well. And pop that. Wait a second. Pop that. And then that pops. There is a heavy bombardment cruiser for the Merak that we will run into in the X era that contains no less than 6 MIRV missiles. Yeah, the kind of waves that it throws is really hilarious. So that's the power of a drone cruiser. We go super fast. We have a fantastic weapon system. I'm just a huge, gigantic fan of the MIRV missile. I really can't emphasize enough how much I adore that weapon system. And we took the territory, no problem. We'll pop back up here, go on to supplies, and unfortunately we are about to run into a little bit of a problem. You see, maintaining a missile boat is a little bit expensive. How did we take damage? He didn't punch through my shields. I know that for a fact. Maintaining our missile boat is going to be a little bit expensive. Not amazingly, but a little bit expensive, because missiles cost bucks now that we're no longer using slow missiles. We could use slow drones and just try and offset that cost, and I may switch back to doing something like that, but for now I want to see if we can actually maintain some form of income with all the missiles that we can use. On the bright side, we will have access to half our normal missile loads, even if we don't return home to reload at any point. It'll give us back all the ammunition, or not all, but half our full complement of ammunition, so we can still operate and do things. But it's always nice to go into a fight with absolute full loads. So we're going to pick up the speed. We're going a little bit slower than before. I wanted to keep the electronic warfare activated immediately, and we've done that. We're being escorted today by the Black Ace, who is equipped 4-point defense and a little bit of skirmishing long range. That's actually a really interesting fire support ship. See, it's got a PPD, which is a long-range ship that fires multiple waves of plasma at the enemy. It's very effective. It's one of my favorite weapons in this game. And it has a Hellbore, which is an incredibly effective weapon because it wraps the damage around the ship and focuses most of it on the weakest shield. Backing that up, he's got a pair of Plasma D torpedo launchers, which operate like anti-missile defense systems, whereas they shoot down missiles and pseudo-frigates, and they're frighteningly effective. They're one of the reasons why I wanted to have the version of the drone cruiser with the MIRV, because, well, the Romulans are going to have a lot of them. We're probably not going to make it into Romulan space until we get an even larger ship, but we're going to see what we can get done. So we've got an SAL+1, and the sensors tell us that it is equipped with 2 F-type plasma torpedoes and 4, count them, 4 D-type plasma torpedoes, which is not good at all. He's going to be able to shoot down quite a bit of our missile salvos, so what I'm planning on doing, actually... What I'd like to do is I'd like to stack up just a massive volley on him. By doing that, we will be able to, by stacking up a massive volley on him, we'll be able to get through any sort of defense he can pull up. The problem is, he's rather obviously going to launch Wild Weasel just as soon as he can. So I'm actually going to accelerate a little bit more, and just so I can put out more heavy missiles, we only have a few MIRVs. We run out of them relatively quickly, because you can't have massive magazines of them, otherwise it's going to hurt you. So I'm just going to use the B-Racks, which have additional reloads in them, twice the ammo almost, and that ought to be more than enough to convince him that he needs to pay attention. Oh, we need to slow down a bit, make sure that we don't overrun our own missile salvo. We should be able to get the second salvo out, and I'll break off, and that'll be able to deploy a scatter pack, which will hopefully penetrate his defenses. So now we begin our breaking off maneuver, and I forgot to bring in a Wild Weasel, but that's okay. We have power, we have speed. And he's launched his plasma torpedoes already, but we're going to be able to pull away from this without too much trouble. Oh, did he? He did deploy the Wild Weasel, but he defeated all of the incoming missiles, which is actually pretty funny, because that Wild Weasel is still active. It didn't shut off. So we're going to have to punch through his defenses once again, and we know that he can take them all. So once again, we're going to set ourselves up. We're going to fire the MIRV. We're going to hold off on just a sec, and then we're going to fire all of the missiles. And once again, we're bringing in a decent number of weapon systems against him. And then I think I want to dump a scatter pack on him right from here. I may save that for an additional salvo. So there goes defensive plasma torpedoes. If we can let him dry... Wow, that's just impressive. And he cloaks. That's impressive. But we have 3 missiles that managed to slam home. And he also got hit a couple of times by the plasmatic pulsar device. Unfortunately, he lost lock on him because of the cloaking device. We're getting kind of close. Start engaging with our phasers. They are point-blank range weaponry, and they're very effective. Plus, we don't need to keep ourselves aimed directly on him. If he wants to decloak at any moment, we can engage him quite heavily because we have missiles ready to go. And here he comes. So, deploy that. Deploy that. And he's attempting to defend himself. And let's see if his D-type plasma torpedoes hold up. They do not. He ran out of ammunition. So I'm going to dump a scatter pack. And he grabbed onto him. He's holding on, but we're about to dump 6 more missiles on top of him. And hopefully he's not going to be able to stop us with a Wild Weasel shuttle. He might have another available. I'm really hoping not. We're going to engage with our phasers. We have a very kind of pathetic phaser firepower right now, with only 2 phaser launches. Wow, you hold a lot of missiles. So we're just going to keep on close next to him and continue to engage point-blank range. And another MIRV right in his face. I'm anticipating a Wild Weasel, I'm just not seeing it happen. Punch through most of his rear shield, causing a lot of damage to him. It looks like his shuttle bay may be offline. Yes, his shuttle bay is down, so everything that we do, we're just engaging him for free at this point. Got a high energy turn out of the Black Ace, but he's too close to use most of it, well, his main PPD weapon. But that's alright. We don't really need much of his help anyway. He has a plasma torpedo ready to go, so we should probably pick up the speed and keep away from that frontal arc. Luckily, missiles are excellent weapons with which to engage an enemy from behind, or while running away, because it's excellent for just throwing them in their defenses. Do you have a Wild Weasel? Doesn't look like it. The shuttle bay is still down, so everything's going to hit. He's dead. He's got a lot of transporters, but he's dead on this one. Got him. Oh, missile ships. I absolutely love missile ships. They are so incredibly powerful. Once you're fully charged and ready to go, you can sprint around at high speed, use all your special weapon systems, just completely overmass whatever the enemy can bring out into defense, especially now that we've got a MIRV cruiser. The fact that this came up as the CD plus M is just... I'm so happy about that. Because it gives us a couple of upgrades on the shields, and it gives us a fantastic upgrade on the main weapon. So we're going to increase the speed of time as we rush on in here. We'll deliver our diplomat and go on and leave. Now, if this had been a normal CD, just a normal drone cruiser, we probably would not have been able to break him like that. Would have taken a lot longer, would have taken a couple more concentrated salvos, but because we could just keep chucking MIRVs in his face over and over, well, he couldn't really do anything to defend himself against it. He tried, he shot down tons of them, but the fact that we could just dish out 11 missiles every single salvo, we very much punch above our weight for a short period of time. Once we run out of ammunition, it becomes a different problem, but hopefully we'll be able to avoid running out of ammunition most of the time. We're going to stay out here longer. I'm going to try and get a couple of missions done before I have to return home, just to sort of see just what sort of endurance we can expect out of this ship. So we're going to continue pressing into the neutral zone and take on another patrol. Also, that way when we build up enough cash, we won't be wasting any of it. Alrighty, let's rock and roll, see what we've got. Aside from a gorgeous nebula off in the distance, nothing as of yet, so we'll kick on maximum electronic countermeasures to mask our presence. It doesn't quite work like that, but it is amusing. The fact that just how much power we have to spare. Like, we have a ton of it, an absolute ton of power. We're starting off charging every single weapon system, and I think we're making a speed of like 19, which is hilariously high. So we'll be able to rush on in there. We'll pick up our speed to 24 so we can start stacking salvos, which really will be much more useful in fighting planets and asteroid-based defenses, because planets and asteroid bases cannot deploy Wild Weasel shuttles. Same deal with monsters, so those are easy missions for us now, because now we can just stack up massive monster salvos, because we have the missile links to do it now. We have enough fire control channels on our ship to control all our missiles, even though we don't actually have to control our missiles all that much. We can use evasive maneuvers while doing it. So we're facing a pretty standard, it's a D6K. I thought that it looked pretty similar to just most normal D7s, frankly. With the, yeah, it looks like a D7, so maybe the D6K was modified to that standard or something? Not quite sure, but we're probably going to wipe him out. And we will start, of course, with the MIRVs. MIRVs are wonderful and should be celebrated. There they are, managing to travel a little bit slowly. And I will fire all of my missiles now, that way they're ready for the follow-up. I'll pick up a little bit more speed and get another MIRV in there. He will Wild Weasel it. Actually, I may not have to. He's probably going to Wild Weasel that regardless, because he's only got 3 forward-firing phasers. These 4 phaser 2s should only fire backwards, and a single AMD. So we should be good on this one. So we're just going to come right around on the side with him. I probably could set up a scatter pack. I'm not going to, because I want to see if I can just saturate him without having to use one. But this will probably influence him to dump a dump a Wild Weasel pretty soon. And he's trying. Nope. Yep. There he goes. He's dumping his speed right now in order to avoid the damage. And we'll wait just a little bit because we need to give time for the scatter pack to do its thing, or time for his Wild Weasel to die off. And as we wait, we've lined him up with our Mervs. We only have 5 of them left, but that's all right. There goes the scatter pack. Or not the scatter pack. Keep calling it a scatter pack. It's a Wild Weasel. And there we go. So his point defense will start shooting at these first. He'll probably knock down a couple of them, and then his tractor beams will pick up a few more, but then the rest of them want to come in and just nail him. Oh, nope, his AMD already shut down. So now we're just punching right through. Oh, look at that. Just 74 damage right on through. And he's still holding on to a couple of missiles, so we can just continue to flood him with fire. I love missile ships so much. He's starting to pick up some speed. If he actually goes above a speed of 24, that completely negates all of our missile capability. So it is something to keep in mind. And we'll wait for it. And again, fire. And he is starting to drive directly away from us, which is probably his best plan. He's got 4 phaser 2s, which can cover his rear arc, and the AMD, and if he lengthens the time it takes for the missiles to close with him, well, he'll take more damage. Unfortunately, he decided to go right back in for him. Unless he's got a Wild Weasel, he's probably gonna be mostly dead here. So he's taken out 2 missiles so far, one of the main missiles, and yeah, we're getting through it. Several of their systems, yeah, they lost most of their power. Dropping down to 1.5, having a bad day right there. Engage with the normal missiles. Oh, clever. So we will activate our own point defense tractor beams. We have no problem with that. And shattered him. Broke him and blew up his own missiles on his own corpse. A beautiful, beautiful pass on through. Although the number of Mervs that we're going to have when we go into fights against these guys, as long as we're at half loads, is going to be kind of painful. So we're going to stay out here a little bit longer. Another diplomatic delivery. Of course. What kind of Mirak doesn't want to be driving into his diplomatic meeting on the most advanced drone cruiser ever devised? We're facing off against the Illyrian heavy cruiser at this point. It is, according to the fleet screen, an SR+. Okay, so it's a survey cruiser. That's no problem at all. We're good. We'll come over here, set up our normal defenses systems, so maximum shield reinforcement, as well as a huge amount of electronic countermeasures. As long as we're out here, because we are fighting our mortal enemies, we're going to prep a scatter pack. And we're being escorted today by the Death Wing, which is packing 2 F-type plasma torpedoes, which is pretty good for such a small freighter. I mean, he's got 40 damage alpha right there. That's really nice. And, ooh, am I out of missiles already? No, I'm not. It's just a graphical glitch. Okay, that's fine. Not a problem. We've got about 5 shots. 5 shots and then we're out of ammo. How many Mervs? 6. 6 Mervs. 6 from there. And 3. Wow. 2 ready plus 3 additional reloads. 2 ready plus... Yeah, that scatter pack really took a lot out of us. We're going to have to make it count. So let's pick up the pace so we can start stacking up a salvo. Yeah. He does not have a whole heck of a lot with him. To be fair, we really don't have a huge energy armament either. We are kind of lacking in that category. But we'll hopefully make things work. One thing about flying a heavy cruiser is that I can simply go to the power screen and look here, because it has a power ratio of 1.0, so I know exactly what speed I have dialed in, because it sets it up for me. Alright, so he's closing at a rate of 20. Our missiles can travel that in no time at all. Engage with the first of the Mervs. And follow up with a massive missiles helmet, and then we're going to fire another group of Mervs that way. And actually, we're going to pick up a little bit more speed so I can get ahead of these missiles with the Mervs. Actually, no, again, it may not be required. In fact, I don't think it will be. He doesn't even have an anti-missile defense system. He does have the expanding sphere generator, which is very powerful against missiles. That should be noted. The ESG creates an energy bubble which can probably knock down all of these missiles without too much trouble. But if he doesn't use that, because the AI tends to kind of juggle their heavy weapon, their ESGs and their Wild Weasels pretty badly, we might be able to get away with this. So he is pulling up all the way up to a speed of 31. He is eager and ready to engage. That's fascinating. And I'm just going to sort of pull off to the side here, because he's going right for him. And he has turned on the ESG, okay. But will he respond? He did. He wild weasel. That's the crash stop right there. See what I mean? The AI sometimes can make some really dumb decisions. And that's one of them. But wait a second, and one. Plus this for a follow-up. I'm just going to flood him with so many missiles, he's not even going to know what to do with them. Which is very, very much a Marak tactic. Just throw everything you've got into them, and they're going to have to suffer with it. He grabs some with tractor beams, but it's not going to save him. We've got a follow-up salvo just about ready to come, another half turn away, plus a full salvo from this. Yep. The power of missiles, man. Absolutely lovely. And that allows us to cruise on into the planet and say, hi, did you see what we did to that guy? Maybe it's a good idea to be friends with us. Which is how most of these missions probably go. Alright, we'll come over here, make sure helm is up so I can smash that crash stop just in case I forget about something. And we'll come over here and get the ambassador ready. After all, we are going to be dropping him off for his conference. Although it would probably be much more like the Marak to launch him down in a missile. I may be taking the missiles a little bit too far when it comes to the Marak, but still, I adore them as a weapon, which makes the Marak my absolute favorite race to play. The ISE is pretty close because they have an awesome weapon, but missile salvos are so satisfying once you start getting them to hit the enemy. It can get a little bit difficult later on in the game because the other empires realize that missile ships are kind of ridiculously powerful, and so they try and come up with ways of stopping them from being ridiculously powerful. So that will eventually lead us to create things with like 40-something missile salvos. It's amazing. It's going to be a wonderful late game. So another 280 prestige for showing the flag. And that's actually going to do it for today's episode, showing off our brand new MERV drone cruiser. I'm super happy that now that we're in it, we get to be much more aggressive. We're going to start pushing around towards the towards Romulan territory sometime soon, but that'll have to wait for another episode. In the meantime, I've been Tirek. If you like what you've been seeing, hit that like button and subscribe. If you want to see a notification every time I list one of these videos, press that little bell icon, leave a comment, and I will see you all in the next episode.